Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Konrad Gorlinski. The Interior and Migration Ministers of Greece, Italy, Spain, Cyprus and Malta issued a joint statement after a summit of the so-called MED Group of Five in Athens, saying that the EU's new migration pact, in its current format, does not provide sufficient reassurances to the frontline member states. Poland and Hungary have stated that they oppose the plan, even though, under the Commission proposal, the EU would pay a country 10,000 euros for every migrant they take in. The EU has been fighting bitterly since 2015, when over 1 million people, most of them Syrian, Iraqi, or Afghan refugees, arrived on its shores, the majority through Greece. A new pact to tackle the issue was put forward by the European Commission last September, but a final deal has yet to be reached. Arrivals have dropped significantly to about 95,000 people last year, according to United Nations data, most to Italy, Spain, and Greece. These countries now demand that the new migration pact contain mandatory relocation quotas.
It is definite that all member states need to participate in the migratory pressures. We cannot have the 5 Mediterranean member states taking all of the pressure from the rest of the European Union. So we need the solidarity to be mandatory, and if there is the concept of flexible solidarity introduced by the Commission approved, then we need to make sure that a sufficient number of relocations do take place and that the solidarity offered by member states is impactful for the frontline states.
The ministers called for more cooperation with origin or transit countries, a centrally managed European expatriation mechanism, as well as the relocation of asylum seekers among all member states.
We want a pact on migration and asylum that must be built on solidarity and fair shared responsibility. For us, that is the main question. And of course, there are the external dimension. We have to improve our cooperation with third countries. That is fundamental to fight against irregular migrations, to fight against smugglers.
Mandatory solidarity is the most sensitive part of the pact, obliging each country to host some migrants by either accepting them, sponsoring their return to their countries of origin, or offering material on-the-ground assistance to arrival countries. The European Council is expected to vote on whether to adopt the pact this autumn. Many Parisians have left the French capital in an attempt to escape new lockdown restrictions introduced this Saturday. Those who have remained will follow the authorities' directives to leave their homes for only the absolute essentials. Some Parisians, however, are anxious about how long the lockdown will last this time and whether it will have any impact on the number of new coronavirus cases. The usual dense foot traffic on Paris's Champs-Élysées Avenue has been thinned out as a new lockdown imposed by the French government to curb the country's worsening COVID-19 situation has gone into effect. It's quite sad to see this city completely dead, especially on the Champs-Élysées. We understand the health situation, but on the other hand, after 1 year and taking a step back, we tell ourselves that the political leaders could have taken better measures. I think all shops could stay open with a real health protocol and measures so that those at risk are locked down rather than young, active people and students. With intensive care units close to overflowing, French Prime Minister Jean Castex announced on Thursday that residents of the Greater Paris region could only leave their homes for essential trips or exercise. It's not completely false that it doesn't feel like a lockdown, because we can go out as much as we want in a 10-kilometer radius from our home, so it's quite vague. We have to have a permission slip, but compared to previous lockdowns, we're still a lot more free to go out. So are we locked down? Yes and no. The new lockdown is much lighter compared to France's 2 previous nationwide lockdowns in 2020. Hairdressers, bookstores, florists, and chocolate shops can stay open, as opposed to past lockdowns. Some, however, question whether the lockdown will manage to keep the number of new cases down. It's exhausting, tiring, it's long. I hope it's going to end quite quickly. although I have questions about how efficient the measures really are. The measures will be in place for at least 4 weeks in 16 French departments, which also includes northern France and the area around the southern French city of Nice. United States Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has met with his Indian counterpart Rajnath Singh during his visit to New Delhi. The head of the Department of Defense stressed that the United States would like to elevate and strengthen security ties with India, especially in information sharing and logistics. Austin is making the first visit by a top member of U.S. President Joe Biden's administration to India as part of efforts to forge an alliance of countries seeking to push back against China's assertiveness in the region. The leaders of the United States, India, Australia, and Japan, countries together known as the Quad, held a first summit last week, pledging to work together for a free and open Indo-Pacific and to cooperate on maritime and cybersecurity in the face of challenges from China.
And at the top of my agenda, I wanted to convey the Biden-Harris administration's message of our strong commitment to our allies and partners. India, in particular, is an increasingly important partner among today's rapidly shifting international dynamics. And I reaffirmed our commitment to a comprehensive and forward-looking defense partnership with India as a central pillar of our approach to the region.
The Indian Minister of Defense called on the U.S. to invest in India's defense sector, citing what he called liberalized foreign direct investment policies.
Our discussions today focused on our wide-ranging defense cooperation and expanding military-to-military engagement across services, information sharing, cooperation in emerging sectors of defense, and mutual logistics support. We reviewed the wide gamut of bilateral and multilateral exercises and agreed to pursue enhanced cooperation with the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, Central Command, and Africa Command.
Earlier, Austin visited the country's National War Memorial and paid tribute to their fallen soldiers. 13 Mexican police officers have been murdered following an ambush conducted by suspected drug gang members. The officers were out on patrol in Coatepec, Jarinas, a troubled municipality southwest of Mexico City, when an intense firefight broke out. Forensic teams and dozens of heavily armed police and military officials gathered at the cordoned-off crime scene, dotted with checkpoints, after one of the worst mass slayings of Mexican law enforcement officers in years. The police convoy came under fire in broad daylight as it patrolled in a zone where gangs, including the Familia Michoacana drug cartel, are known to operate, officials said. I was with my little girl, as usual. I was feeding her. Then I was trying to get her to sleep when I saw the police vehicles go by and the white van that was on the other side. And when they came to a halt, everything started. I was terrified for my girl, and what I did was hide at the back of my house. It sounded horrible. The killings are another reminder of the task still facing President Andrés Manuel López Obrador, who vowed to pacify Mexico when he took office in December 2018, but has instead had to cope with even higher homicide levels than his predecessor. We are very sorry for what happened in the state of Mexico. The government of the state of Mexico is tending this case, conducting investigations. What we can say with certainty is that there is no impunity in the government that I represent. Whoever commits a crime is punished, is sanctioned. Federal authorities are investigating, but have yet to state a motive for the killings. A police officer who was at the scene said it may have been an act of retaliation, without giving any more details. All right, thanks for tuning in, and have a great evening and a great week ahead.